How's it going, everybody? I hope everybody's doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about the fight that's just been announced between Canelo Alvarez and Avni Yildirim. So Canelo Alvarez has just signed a 2-fight deal, I believe, with Eddie Hearn. So I believe he's fighting Yildirim first, and then I believe once he comes through that, he's supposed to fight Billy Joe Saunders in May. That's at least what I've read. So now let's talk about this Canelo Alvarez versus Avni Yildirim fight. In my opinion, this is another almost cherry pick type fight where I expect Canelo Alvarez to look like a monster in there. I expect him to really look good and practically destroy Yildirim. He's going to pick him apart and blow him out. In my opinion, I think he knocks Yildirim out probably pretty early in the fight. Probably, I would say, before the first 5 rounds. I expect Canelo to get Yildirim out of there. Now, in my opinion, Yildirim is tailor-made for Canelo Alvarez because Yildirim is a pressure fighter. He doesn't really have great head movement or great defense. He's a pressure fighter now. And like you saw against when Yildirim fought Chris Eubank Jr., he was very open to the uppercut and the left hook. As he came forwards, he left his head in the center. He didn't get it out of line. He left it right there, and you can pick his head right up with a right uppercut and then knock it clean off with the left hook. And I'm expecting Canelo Alvarez will do that. The body shots will be there on Yildirim as well, that left hook to the body, and like I say, the uppercuts and left hooks are there all day long on Yildirim. I'm expecting Canelo Alvarez to really put on a show against Yildirim. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the James Kirkland type of fight where you may see another spectacular knockout against a guy that's just almost built for Canelo Alvarez. He's really easy to hit, and Eubanks showed you that. I mean, he really destroyed Yildirim. So I'm not sure why Yildirim is getting this fight against Canelo Alvarez, because Yildirim hasn't really picked up any big victories since then. He hasn't really earned this fight. I don't know why he's getting this payday, other than the fact that everybody in charge of Canelo knows this is a fight where he'll look really good. He'll destroy Yildirim. The guy's tailor-made for him, and they want Canelo Alvarez to look good and keep building his brand. And Canelo's making money with easy fights at the moment, so that's what I see with this Yildirim fight. It's a cherry pick. It's another fight that's made to continue just building up the hype of Canelo Alvarez. It's not one of these fights where I want to see him in against a guy like Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, or he's fought at light heavyweight where he beat Kovalev, a guy like Beterbiev, or the rematch with Golovkin or Bivol, also up at light heavyweight. There's a lot of huge fights for Canelo Alvarez. This is not one of them. I don't know anybody that wanted to see this fight. Like I said, Canelo's going to look real good in the... I mean, now, of course, there is the possibility if Yildirim can somehow take Canelo's power and apply that relentless pressure, then, I mean, he could test Canelo's stamina. As we've seen Canelo struggle to fight for the full 3 minutes of every round. He has to take, a minute or two off in some of the rounds, and then he'll explode and light the guy up with a flashy combination, in the last 30 seconds of a round, and sometimes win the round, or the judge just gives him the round. Now, that is a possibility where you could see Yildirim, I guess, test Canelo's stamina. If he can take Canelo's power, which I doubt he can, because he couldn't take Chris Eubank's power, who's not the biggest of punches. So this is also similar to like when Canelo fought Alfredo Angulo. He's a very plodding, basic pressure fighter. Now, Angulo was very durable, but he was also extremely weight trained and extremely, I don't know what was wrong with him, but in that fight he looked extremely sluggish. He's always very slow, but in that fight he looked especially slow. I think he really struggled to make the weight, and he was a completely shot fighter because he takes so many punches to the head. Angulo really takes punishment to the head. I think he's still fighting, actually. But anyways, yeah, this is that type of fight where you really saw Canelo was able to put on a show in terms of his punch selection. I mean, every punch in the book he wanted to hit Angulo with, he could hit him with. I mean, he was faking the left hook, and I was faking the uppercut, and then we hit him with the left hook, or he would fake the left uppercut and hit him with the right hand. I mean, he was playing with Angulo in there, because Angulo doesn't move his head. So he would fake a shot, and Angulo would just shell up, and then Canelo would hit him with another shot, around the side or through the middle of the guard or under the guard. And that's kind of what I see this as well. Yildirim, he's going to cover up on that high guard, and Canelo's going to be able to just pick his punches and show off his punch selection. And like I say, he'll take Yildirim out, in my opinion, similar to the way Eubanks did with those uppercuts and left hooks. Now, like I say, this is not the style, in my opinion, that I want to see Canelo in against. I want to see him in against a boxer that can move and has a good jab. I mean, like you saw, Canelo had problems with Floyd Mayweather, Erislandy Lara, Trout, all these guys. Even Cotto gave him trouble with that left jab and the movement. So Golovkin as well gave him a lot of trouble with the jab. Pressured him in the first fight, to win that fight. And then in the rematch, he showed another way that he could beat Canelo, and where he put the jab on him and he boxed and moved. And Canelo couldn't put his back on the ropes throughout the whole 12 rounds. GGG was just hitting him with that jab and outboxing him. So I want to see Caleb Plant in there with Canelo Alvarez. I want to see Billy Joe Saunders in there with Canelo Alvarez, and I want to see even David Benavidez, because that's a type of pressure fighter that I want to see. Not Yildirim. I mean, nobody wants to see Yildirim in there with him. But yeah, the main style I want to see Canelo in is with the boxer, because he's always struggled with the boxer. And everybody always said it in my last video about Canelo, when I did the Callum Smith Canelo prediction. Everybody keeps saying, why do you mention Canelo Alvarez's losses to Floyd Mayweather and his struggling performances against guys like Trout and Erislandy Lara, and also the Golovkin stuff? They say, he's improved since then. He was a different fighter when he fought Floyd Mayweather. He learned from that fight, and he's this and that. He's a changed man, and he's so much better now. In my opinion, he's not much better. He's still the same fighter. He just hasn't been in there since then with a real master boxer. And Golovkin showed you that. Golovkin is a guy that is a pressure fighter. Now, he is a very good boxer. Don't get me wrong. He's a great boxer with a great jab. And he showed that in the rematch. Canelo had really no answers to the... Now, Canelo did some good body work and stuff, but his footwork, he still couldn't cut off the ring. He still couldn't put Golovkin on the ropes. And Golovkin wasn't moving like a guy like Lara could move, or a guy like Caleb Plant can move, or Billy Joe Saunders. And he couldn't cut the ring off on Golovkin. Now, you could say it's because of Golovkin's hard-thudding jab, but I mean, Caleb Plant's got a really good, sharp, fast jab. Billy Joe Saunders, the same thing. These guys have got really good jabs with really good movement, and they got, probably even better defense than Golovkin has. So these are the types of guys I want to see Canelo Alvarez in there with, not Avni Yildirim. We know he's going to knock out, and he's going to look good against. He's going to look spectacular against Yildirim. The guy's a punch bag. I mean, why the hell is he fighting Yildirim when Eubanks knocked Yildirim out? If anything, he should be fighting Eubanks. Now, and that's a decent fight, actually. And I don't really rate Eubanks like that. I mean, I know Eubanks just beat De Gale, but it was an old De Gale. Every time Eubanks stepped up against a top competition, he came up short. Came up short against George Groves. He came up short against Billy Joe Saunders. So, I mean, this guy's worse than Eubanks. And even Eubanks isn't at the top of this division. Billy Joe Saunders beat Eubanks, and he hasn't got the fight with Canelo yet. That's a fight I want to see. I want to see Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, David Benavidez, or some of these, the top light heavyweights, because he's performing at light heavyweight as well. Or if he wants to go back down to middleweight, Golovkin's there. He's got unfinished business with Golovkin, and Demetrius Andrade's down there as well, another top slick boxer, that he could fight for a title. Not Yildirim. Yildirim has nothing. He has no belt. He's got nothing. He hasn't got a big notable performance that earned him this fight. I don't know why we're seeing this fight, but yeah, it's another, in my opinion, another cherry pick and another fight that's going to make Canelo Alvarez look real good. But what can you say? Hopefully his fight in May is going to be against Billy Joe Saunders, now that he's signed with Eddie Hearn. Billy Joe Saunders is with Eddie Hearn, so I'm sure they're going to make that fight in May, and that's a fight I am looking forward to. Although Billy Joe Saunders, he hasn't been that impressive as of late, because he's been really inactive and the level of competition he's fought lately hasn't been good. You know, Martin Murray and the guy from Argentina, and he, you know, I mean, he looked decent against Martin Murray, but I mean, it's Martin Murray, you know. So I mean, I want to see Billy Joe Saunders get a fight out at the start of this year, you know, and look real good and show that he's still at the top of his game before he fights Canelo in May. So it's not just a cash out type of fight, which I'm pretty sure Billy Joe Saunders isn't taking it as a cash out fight. He's still the world champ at super middleweight, and he's a very you know, proud man that I don't think would take a payday to lose. He'd take the fight only because he knows he can win the fight. But anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on this upcoming fight between Canelo and Yildirim. Canelo's going to look good. I'm expecting him to win by an early stoppage in this fight. The guy's tailor-made for him. The guy's easy to hit, and I'm expecting his style to match up really well for Canelo. He's going to come towards Canelo, try and apply pressure on Canelo. Canelo's a tremendous inside fighter. If you stand in front of Canelo, you let his hands go. He has power. He's got speed. Got a great punch selection. You know, beautiful uppercuts and body shots on the inside as well as left hooks. He can really shorten up his shots nicely, and I believe Yildirim's going to come straight towards him, and he's going to get lit up and stopped early in this fight. So that's what I'm expecting to see. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this fight. Do you think it's a good fight? Do you think, you know, Canelo should be fighting Yildirim? Do you think it's a cherry pick? And who do you want to see him fight next? Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you guys soon again. Cheers.